Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to be here today for the launch of Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy, our brand new book. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that I live and work on, the Mamu people of North Queensland. And I'd like to pay my respects to traditional owners and elders past and present right across Australia and the Torres Strait. My name's Peace Mitchell and I'm co-author of this beautiful new book, Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. Today, I'm going to be chatting with some of the authors of this book, and I can't wait to introduce you to them. So first, I'd like to bring Chantal to the stage. Welcome, Chantal.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. So Chantal, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
So my name's Chantal Burling, and I am a mum of two. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I own Mindful Mama Designs, which started off because of a history with postnatal depression and anxiety. As part of my business goals is to help reduce the stigma that surrounds mental health. And try to just bring it a little bit more to the forefront. Yeah,
amazing. And can you tell us a bit about your chapter, Chantal? I think Chantal's having some tech issues today. I'll just give her another moment to see if she can get that internet working. Okay. Oh, you're back, Chantal. So I'd love to hear a bit about your chapter that you wrote about.
Yeah, sorry, my internet's not very good today. Of all days, it seems to be playing up, and it's having severe technical issues. So I'll try and get through it quickly. So because of my postnatal depression and anxiety, I worked with affirmations and mindfulness. So my chapter is based around how mindfulness can really improve your quality of life and help you just to bring you back into the moment so that you can appreciate everything that is around you and just caught up in the busyness of life. So to really just take in everything that you can within that mindfulness. So my chapter is based around how you can bring more mindfulness into your daily life and just little tips and things that helped me that could possibly help others going through the same things. So.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think there's so much to be learned from somebody who has lived experience. And sometimes it's as simple as things like using affirmations and really focusing on mindfulness that can have such a huge impact on our lives and our well-being. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom, Chantal. I'd now like to
Thank you for having me, and I'm so sorry about all the connection issues.
It's all good. We've all been there. Thanks, Chantal. I'd now love to bring up our next author, Bianca. Welcome, Bianca.
Varani Mata, how are you?
Yes, I'm good. It's wonderful to have you here, Bianca. Now, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to tell us a bit about who you are and the work that you do.
Thank you. So, I'm Bianca Stworski. I have 2 adult children and I operate International Indigenous Social Enterprise Warrada Holistic Wellness. I am a Buddy Maya and Ukrainian woman, and what I'm doing is decolonising health and well-being while also empowering a diversity of women to embrace healing on their own terms, because so often what we do is we hear that we need to abdicate our healing to somebody else, the expert. And even though I am a mental health therapist as well as many other things, everyone innately knows what they need to do to heal. And I think that we forget that we all have that ability within us, inside of ourselves.
That's so powerful, isn't it? It's, taking back ownership of ourselves and what we need, and listening to ourselves and our body.
Absolutely. It is so important that we recognize, if we actually stopped and listened and looked within, we would know everything we really need. And yes, you may have someone that supports you in that process, but ultimately it's you doing the healing. It is your own journey. And we don't need to abdicate that to somebody else.
Yeah. So Bianca, tell us a bit about your chapter in this beautiful book, Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy.
Thank you. Of course, I've brought in my Buddy Maya side as First Nations side, using Buddy Maya language. And it's about our spirit getting stronger. And so what I was just saying, innately we know how to heal if we stopped and we listened, if we recognized that many of us are operating at a pace that far exceeds where we can physically do that, and somewhere along the line our relationships suffer, whether that be our personal relationships, relationships with our children, whatever it might be. Somewhere along the line things happen, and we just can't keep operating at that pace. And so what I was encouraging people to do is to stop and to listen, to connect with country, to really understand that if we actually listened, if we paused, if we reflected, then all of these things that seem so overwhelming and so impactful are less so. So I guess that's probably where I was coming from in the chapter, and it's about empowering people to have their own way of healing.
I love that, and I love that you bring such a beautiful perspective from your background as a First Nations woman. And I think that connection to country and getting grounded and stopping the hustle and going back to those things is something that we all need in our busy lives.
Absolutely. And we can each learn from that, that healing, that good mental health and well-being, all of those things are within our grasp if we just recognize it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here, Bianca, and being part of this book.
Thank you.
I'd now like to welcome our next guest, Dr. Olivia Ong. Hello, Olivia. How are you?
Hi, Peace. I'm good. Good afternoon.
Now, Dr. Olivia, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Absolutely, Peace. Hi, everyone who's watching this. I'm Olivia. I'm also known as my global brand, The Heart-Centered Doctor. I've been a pain physician now for about 15 years, and I'm an expert in resilience and burnout. But I've also been on the other side of the healthcare system, having been involved in a severe car accident in 2008 that left me a paraplegic. I was actually told that I'll never walk again. And interestingly, I went on my own healing journey on the other side of the globe. I actually went to the United States for rehabilitation, and eventually, after 3 years of intensive rehab, I did eventually learn to walk again. So what came out of that was, I guess, a beautiful life lesson that I learned, which actually was the inspiration behind my chapter for Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy as well, which I learned the greatest life lesson as someone who was never compassionate for a very long time. Most healthcare workers aren't, because we're just so busy putting our needs above our patients' needs above ours, to the point that we sacrifice our health. But the greatest experience I had was my own injury, how self-compassion came to me through my injury. So I was able to encompass self-compassion and not only in the business that I've set up, which is the Heart Centered Method Institute Private Limited. It's a coaching and education company for doctors to transform their lives inside out so that they can be more compassionate and happier doctors and clinicians as well. So I serve quite a wide audience at the moment. And I've got 2 young kids. I've got a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old, so they keep me busy as well. And yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredible story. I mean, you were paraplegic and it took 3 years for you to be able to walk again. I think that must have been such a challenging and humbling time. You know, you're a very determined and successful woman as a doctor, but you had to go right back to the basics of learning to walk and, you know, taking it one day at a time. And self-compassion is one of the biggest lessons that you learned along the way. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So interestingly, in my journey to learn to walk again, I had to learn to be like a baby, just like a baby. You know how, well, now I've got 2 kids, so I kind of know. Learning to crawl, stand up, walk, take steps. Exactly, I had to do the same thing because I was paralyzed from the waist down. So I had to learn every single thing, from even sitting unassisted, because I'll be so wobbly. When I first went to America, I will just be, my core strength just wasn't there. And my legs, don't even talk about the legs. And it took 3 years. I have to admit that, I mean, the recovery is, you know, like it's been good. Like I can walk with 2 sticks. I have a limp still, but I can walk functionally. I'm really grateful for that. You know, but you know, the saying, slowing down to speed up. Exactly. That's what happened to me. Slowing down to speed up. Like, not only I had to be mindful, learn mindfulness, take baby steps, literally baby steps, to learn to walk again. I had to reach out for help to, you know, I couldn't be by myself. And, you know, because when I went to America, I was very isolated. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I was still grieving over the loss of my identity and my legs, basically. I didn't want to talk to anyone, but the friendships I made just opened my heart, warmed my heart. Just that connection was beautiful. Seeing other people, yeah, we have such a common bond, like spinal cord injury survivors. That's our common bond. And just being kind to myself, I had to accept that this is me, imperfect and all. I walk with sticks, I walk with a limp. So what? People are going to judge me and things like that, but who cares? I'm still me. So yeah, very powerful life lesson my injury taught me.
It's incredible. It really is incredible. Like, what a miracle to be able to achieve that, to be able to walk again. And now you're using the lessons that you learned to help other doctors to develop that self-compassion. It's really inspiring. So tell us a bit about your chapter.
Sure. And, you know, a big part of my journey of self-compassion also involved my burnout experience that I had in 2019. As you can imagine, you know, having pushed through my journey to learn to walk again, I just pushed my body through incredible, not just incredible exercises, but also tremendous stress just to learn to walk again. I had to do intensive rehab 5 hours each day for 3 years. It was like boot camp. And that wasn't easy, but I was so determined to walk again. I kind of forgot to look after myself. Then when I went back to Melbourne, I resumed my medical career, of course, being on the hamster wheel like every other doctor and everyone in the corporate, I'm sure in corporate and other industries are the same, just back on the hamster wheel. Then I had my son, and before you know it, on the spiraling journey to burnout very quickly. In 2019, I just couldn't, get out of bed one day. Not I have to press the snooze button type of get out of bed. I was so physically exhausted. I couldn't get out. I had to take 2 months off work, basically. But even, you know, taking 2 months off work, physically I felt better, but spiritually I wasn't the same person until I went on my own personal development journey during the pandemic. Interestingly, the pandemic gave me time again to slow down a little bit. And yeah, that was when things truly transformed. I had coaches to help me kind of see my blind spots, worked on my mindset, worked on lots of things that I kind of, happily ignored. And because of that, being coach, I realized that was coaching is such a transformative tool for my peers. That's why I became a coach myself, became a life coach, leadership coach. Yeah, just helping my burnt out medical peers and other clinicians through burnout and helping them see that there is hope at the end of the burnout recovery, at the end of the burnout tunnel. There is hope, much hope. As I'm sure the other co-authors here will probably share their own respective journeys. There's always hope.
Yeah, it's an incredible story and it's incredible work that you do. I know that doctors are under so much stress, and to have you supporting them, it's really beautiful. So thank you so much for being part of this book and for joining us today. Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you, please. Thank you.
I'd now like to welcome Danny V to join us, our next author. Hey, Danny.
Hi, Peace. How are you going?
I'm really good. So, Danny, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you, I'm Danny V. I'm an integrated holistic wellness coach. So what I do in my business is I'm really passionate about empowering business women to find their authentic voice and step into unstoppable confidence and really finding their path to wellness. So, fueling their mind, fueling their body and what suits them.
Yeah, beautiful. So tell us a bit about your chapter, Danny.
So my chapter is about my journey of just staying stuck in busyness. So I was in an emotionally abusive relationship for 9 years, and by coping with that, I really just kept myself busy. So just ignoring the world and staying busy and not allowing myself that space for the calm in my life. So in the chapters, in my chapter, I speak about finding that sort of that peace and that happiness. And I've used some really great questions that I used to ask myself to step into the happiness and find peace in my mind and step away from the busyness. So instead of like ignoring my life and being busy, I'm really speaking about healing my mind and my soul to be able to be happy and be in that Zen zone.
Yeah, amazing. And I guess that it's something that happens to a lot of us. We get caught up in the busyness, and it's difficult sometimes to step out of that and to step back and recognize when it's happening. And so questions can be a really powerful way of bringing yourself back. Can you give us an example of some of the questions that you ask?
The first question I think would be that's really impactful for anybody to remember would be, is this really true? So when you're being really busy and you start making up stories in your mind. So for example, I haven't got time for myself. I haven't got time to do this. I haven't got time to do that, which we're all guilty for, and I still step into that zone now. But then just asking yourself, is that really true? And then just listening and taking even if it's just 5 seconds, because if you haven't done it before, it can be quite difficult to listen to your inner self. So just asking yourself, is that really true? And then yes or no will come up. And if it's no, well, then what is true? What is really true in this moment? And being present with that actual moment.
That's really powerful. Really powerful.
Yeah, hopefully.
Thank you so much, Danny. It's been wonderful chatting with you today and having you as part of this book, Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peace. Thanks.
Thanks, Danny. I'd now like to welcome Margaret Foley. Hello, Marg. How are you?
Hello, Peace. I am awesome today. How are you?
Really good, really good. Now, Margaret, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much. I would love to. So my name is Margaret Foley, and I'm the founder of a business called Queen of My Own Universe. I live in Melbourne, down on the Mornington Peninsula in Melbourne, and I have got 2 teenage sons who keep me very busy, shall we say. I founded Queen of My Own Universe, which is it's a women's empowerment community where we are really helping women to step into and understand who they are and how strong they are so that every woman can be the queen of her own universe.
I love that so much. And I love the name of your business, Queen of My Own Universe. It's so good. Now, Marg, tell us a bit about your chapter and the stories you shared.
Yeah, it was such an amazing experience to write this chapter, and thank you so much for creating spaces, for women to come and do this kind of work. So my chapter is called Accepting Imperfection, and I guess I reverse engineer it. So I came to create and run Queen of My Own Universe after I suffered my third experience of burnout. So that was 3 trips to hospital in the space of 5 years, with some pretty bad health conditions. But what I actually came to realize was that my burnout wasn't actually about the job. Sure, I was working really long hours and lots of pressure and, single mum and lockdown and all the rest of it. But my burnout was actually a result of my lifelong quest for perfection. And how could I actually learn to accept my imperfections and know that I was worthy and loved and accepted and approved of, even without being perfect? So I guess I recap a little bit of my life. We all get on this success train, I like to call it. From when we're born, we're supposed to go to school and then go to uni and get a degree and then get a job and get married and have kids and get a job and earn money and blah 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 blah. And I so bought into that because I believed, because of my own experiences, that if I was successful, then I would be perfect and I would be loved and I would be accepted in every form. And so those unmet needs about, if I'm perfect, I'll be loved, was showing up in my workplace. I needed to be perfect in my career. I needed to be, I would describe myself as this high performing, overachieving perfectionist control freak. Like if I could have put that on a t-shirt, then I would have happily, worn that t-shirt. But that perfectionism, that quest to be perfect, because if I was perfect, I'd be loved. If I was perfect, I'd get approval. That's actually what led to my burnout. So when I came out of my burnout and as part of my recovery, I started to really connect into myself and do all of this healing about, discovering my self-worth and discovering who I was. And I came to realize I'm perfect as I am, with all of my imperfections. I'm still absolutely perfect. I'm perfectly Margaret is what I am. And so I quit my corporate job. I walked away from all of that and I started Queen of My Own Universe. And, I guess now I'm a happiness coach for women. And so my chapter, along with telling you a bit of my story and that background, is I share my 7 steps to living a happy life, which is what I did to change my life and what I now coach other women to do. So working through connecting to yourself, figuring out what's actually important to you and how to live in alignment with it is the basis. So those 7 steps are all there in the chapter.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so now, from your own experiences, you're helping other women to avoid the terrible burnout that you had. 3
Yes.
hospitalizations in 5 years. That's a lot.
It was not a good period of my life, and obviously I want to prevent people from ever getting there, but it's as well, you don't have to have had such a a serious outcome. We don't have to have a life that is is terrible and we're unhappy and we've got what I had, depression, anxiety and health issues. There are so many women that I work with that have just got this little nagging sense of discontent. I think it goes back to what Bianca mentioned earlier, that the same thing is everything you need to be happy and well and living a life that you love, it's already inside of you. But we get so conditioned, I love Bianca's phrase about, abdicating, our own healing, that we're taught that you're not enough and therefore you need to go and find all of these other things and stuff and experiences and people and objects. And if I collect all of those around me, then I'll be okay, instead of just going, no, how about if I just go look within? Because everything you need to be happy, it's already in there, but it's about calming the noise. Like Danny was saying, ask yourself the great questions to actually learn how to connect to yourself, because then you can always be happy. You don't need stuff and you don't need people and you don't need anything. You've just got to be like, what? I'm happy. I'm one of those annoyingly happy people now. Because, I'm, like I said, I'm just imperfectly perfect exactly as I am.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so wonderful that you've got to that place. Did it, how did you get there from where you were before to where you are now? I'm sure it wasn't an easy kind of quick transition?
No, no, I did not wake up one day and go from, hospital room to, oh my God, my life's amazing and perfect. Look, I took quite an extensive period of time off work, which thankfully I was able to. I was really well supported by my then employer, to really be able to immerse myself. And I did, to start with, go external because I didn't know what questions I should ask myself. So, you know what, I had different coaches. I had a life coach, I had a spiritual coach, I had a mum coach, I had all of these different people because I didn't trust my own self. I didn't know what to hear. I didn't know what to ask myself the questions. And so surrounding myself with, some great coaches, and some, great therapists who could point me in the direction, which is like, we're not going to fix you this time, Margaret. You're going to fix yourself. We're just going to shine a light for you on these different areas of your life that if you go look over there, go get curious about that, then you'll start to feel and live a little better. So, mindfulness, massive part of it. I used to think meditation and breathing was absolute rubbish. And, now I'm like, yeah, that's really, really important. But there's ways that you can learn to do it that resonate with you. So yeah, surrounding myself with great people that could help me really lean into myself, and then just being prepared to do the work. This is the thing as well. We live in this society of instant gratification, and if it's hard, then I'm going to walk away from it. It's hard and it's confronting, and sometimes you've got to look at yourself in the mirror and see some things that you're kind of like, ooh, not really sure about that. But instead of turning away, you've actually got to step closer and learn a little more about yourself until you get to the point of just going, I understand that old behavior, and now I know how to not repeat it in my life. And I don't need to go looking for external validation and love and approval from anybody else. Because if I give it to myself first and foremost, then it can never, ever be taken away from me. So it was a journey then. It's a journey I'm still on now. Like, we all still have our wobbly days and go, oh my God, I didn't handle that quite as well as I would have liked to. But, I guess it's about helping women have a toolkit so that when they are feeling wobbly, when they're going back in, their inner critic is having a field day with you, we can kind of go, oh, just pause for a moment. Let me get out that little tool that I've learned to bring myself back down again.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that so much. Thank you so much, Margaret, for being here today and for being part of this book. It's a beautiful bit.
Such an honor. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I'd now love to bring our next guest to the stage. Crystal, please join me on stage.
Hi,
Crystal. Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Hi, everyone.
So, Crystal, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and the work you do.
Yes, of course. So my name's Crystal Seng. I am a mum of a 5-year-old daughter, and I'm also a business mentor and a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I'm really interested in supporting especially women and mums in business who are trying to build a very successful, profitable business, but at the same time enjoy lifestyle freedoms like time flexibility, autonomy to work on their own terms, and plenty of downtime as well to enjoy with their family and their loved ones.
Yeah, amazing. So, Crystal, tell us a bit about your chapter and the wisdom that you shared in there.
Yes, so my chapter is a combination of my own first-hand experiencing burnout many times, having run multiple businesses, especially when running a startup that I was building from the ground up. And it was a very intensive experience that I was building this startup, and I was pregnant at the time, and then also launched it not long after giving birth, and in a sense, having like 2 babies at once. It's something I wouldn't recommend. And that was that first-hand experience of burnout. Not long after, when my daughter was about 18 months old, it was very sudden and tragic that my husband actually passed away from an unexpected illness. And when that happened, my world just completely imploded, and just everything that I believed and thought was important, I questioned, and it really just brought me down to basics of like, what's important, who am I, and very grounding of like what are my values, and in the chapter I after having that such an intensive, like, eye-opening experience, it just made me really think about what's really important in life, from the personal side, but also in business, and how do we actually take on our values and apply it in a practical way. And so in the chapter I share my main, I guess, life lessons that I am trying to now live by, which are living in alignment with our own values, our own gifts and talents. And that's where I've personally found the most joy and fulfillment in enjoying the journey, not about attaching our happiness and sense of worth to like future outcomes that are never going to be guaranteed.
Crystal, it must have been such a difficult time for you when you lost your husband. And you talk about, that journey, the personal growth and the journey that you went through after that time. And yeah, can you tell us a bit more about the lessons that you learned about yourself and about life through that experience?
Yeah. So, well, firstly, when my husband passed, I was not even within a frame of mind to even be reflecting. It was just like a catastrophe. But it really took that eventual self-compassion to allow myself to be unproductive, because I was just going through such immense grief that I didn't care about being productive. I didn't care about goals. There was no future that I could see. Everything really just like collapsed. So it took those initial years of being with myself, and slowly through a very non-linear phase. It was definitely like, one step forward and 10 steps back, and a lot of toing and froing. And eventually I was able, and especially with the support of loved ones, and just that gentleness on myself, I was able to eventually reflect on my values, and then from there begin that journey of healing and setting new goals, especially for myself and my daughter, from what's life going to be now and into the future, and from those values, knowing my values and knowing what actually does bring joy, especially living in the present moment, and thriving in rest. Sometimes we find ourselves trying to rest, but our mind will go thinking about strategy, and especially in business, like, it's really hard to turn off. So it's like really learning to truly thrive in rest and enjoy our experiences, and it's like, really enjoying the climb, and not just trying to teleport ourselves to the peak of a mountain, but really enjoy the climb of the journey, which is life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that analogy there, enjoying the whole journey, not just when you get to the, your goal and the destination. And it's so important for all of us as entrepreneurs, as mothers, to enjoy the whole process. So thank you so much for being here, Crystal, and thank you for sharing your chapter in our book, Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. So I'd now like to bring our next author up. Anita, please join us.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Anita, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Sure. So my name is Anita Madison Vanderbilt. I'm a single mom of 3 beautiful little munchkins, 2 boys and a little girl. And I'm the owner of a tan and teeth whitening company called Self-Made. We're part of the Self-Made squad. And I also have my own brand of self-tan and teeth whitening products. I have a bachelor in creative industries and social science, and now an author as well, and just an all-round badass boss, really.
I love it. I love it. So can you tell us a bit about your chapter and the stories that you shared in there?
Absolutely. So my chapter is called When Finding Out That Rock Bottom Has a Basement, The Only Way Is Up. It was 2019, and I found myself having to end my 8-year relationship, my marriage, and leave completely on my own. I have no family. So as me plus 3 on our own, I was in an emotionally and financially abusive relationship. So I was literally leaving with nothing. I didn't have a bank account to my name or a dollar or anything, and had to start from scratch. So facing homelessness, standing in lines at Salvation Army to get food for my kids. It was really as rock bottom as you could probably get. With nothing else, and having to find my way up from there. My husband at the time decided to sell the house that we were living in. So, having to turn to social services and just finding a way from getting to what else could really break you to now running a company, having staff, having my own brand of products, helping other women. I train other women to start their own businesses. I'm at my 20th client that I've just trained, and having a support fund for other single mothers to pay for their children's school fees as well, so helping them.
I love that so much. And so, it was such a difficult time that you went through. What are some of the lessons that you learned along the way that have helped you to get to where you are now?
Absolutely. So the biggest thing, and I think anyone who's gone through a stage where you have to learn to co-parent and there are things out of your control, is not letting the things that you can't control affect you as much. And I know it's so much easier said than done, but it really puts you in such a dark place when there are things you just don't have a handle of. So learning different strategies of using the services. As a mother, we don't reach for help, don't ask for help, do so much on our own, but learning to say, okay, you know what? I'm actually really struggling and I do need those services. I do need that help. I do need those tools. I do need that support wherever it comes from. And whilst you have to put your pride to the side sometimes, if you're a very strong, independent woman, that can be very hard. But when you need that help, you need to ask for it, and then just be able to control what is within your control and only letting that affect you, and then using that to further your journey, because you're only going to get in a worse place if you're going to let all outside exterior things out of your control affect you.
Oh, that's so powerful. And I love that the name of your business is Self-Made, because you really have had to start again and do it yourself. So congratulations on everything you've achieved, and thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for being part of our book, Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. I'd love to bring all of our authors back up now. Please join me on stage. So wonderful having you all here. And I'll go around the room and just ask where people can get in touch with you. So we'll go back to you, Anweta. How can people find you or connect with you online?
Sure. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and the username is selfmadeofficial_AU, or the website www.selfmadeofficial.com.au.
Beautiful. Thank you. Danny V, how about you?
On LinkedIn, I'm Danny V, or Instagram or Facebook, Danny V Coach. And I'm also dannyv.com.
Beautiful. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks.
Crystal, how about you? How do we reach you?
Yes, you can find me at crystalsiang.com, also on LinkedIn, Crystal Siang, and at Facebook, Crystal Siang Official.
Beautiful. Thank you. Dr. Olivia, how do we find you?
People can find me on my website at www.drolivialeong.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
Beautiful. Thanks so much. And how about you, Margaret?
Thanks so much. So you'll find me on LinkedIn as Margaret Foley, or my website is www.queenofmyownuniverse.com. Come join the conversation. We're on Facebook, so it's called Queen of My Own Universe Community, that you can come and join in the conversation, or Queen of My Own Universe 1 on Instagram.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much to all of our authors for being here. Thank you to everybody who has joined us live and everyone watching the recording. And make sure you grab a copy of our brand new book, Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. Thanks so much, everyone. We will see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.